Different role players within the energy space really taking stock of where South Africa finds itself now as we push towards the just energy transition. We see Standard Bank, the group today, gathering various of those role players under the same room to try and discuss and take stock in terms of how then we can ensure that by 2050, that ambition of a net zero emission is really a reality. We know very well that as we stand right now, the country will need about 1.5 trillion in ensuring that by 5 years we meet our ambition of ensuring that at least in these 5 years, if we get that fund, then we'll be able to meet our target 2050. We see those different role players. We had the Minister of Electricity, Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, here as well, giving a keynote address. And right now, we're going to be joined by the Presidential Climate Commission. They've been doing a lot of work in terms of integrating all of the efforts right now and ensuring that there's also investments that are rolled into this particular space whereby the country's ambitions around the just energy transition is concerned. I'm going to bring Crispian Olver, who'll just give us a sense of how then you've been doing the work that you've been doing. We know the president is basically the chairperson of this commission, and we see you and we find you here today really taking stock of these private public efforts that are underway towards the just energy transition. As a commission, where are we? I mean, are we really are we getting where we need to go in terms of our ambitions here? Welcome to the SABC.
Yeah, thank you. And hello to all of your listeners. So the Presidential Climate Commission, we've been now operating since December 2020. And what we do is we bring stakeholders from across the board, business, labor, civil society, government, academics, farmers, traditional leaders. We bring them all together because for us this transition is really a deep systemic reform that affects the whole of society. And our path is to get to net zero by mid-century. That's what the scientists tell us. That means that we're going to have to fundamentally cut many of the emissions in our economy. A lot of them, for instance, come from burning coal, from producing our petrochemicals, also from agricultural and transport and industrial activities. All of these are going to have to change. And that's going to create big sectors of growth in the economy. So there's sectors such as renewable energy, battery storage, new energy vehicles, green hydrogen, climate smart agriculture. All of these sectors are going to grow very dramatically. And there are sectors that are going to shrink. And our concern is around the social and the economic impact of this transition. So how do we make sure that workers and communities are not the ones that are bearing all the costs and taking all the risks? And also, how do we ensure that opportunities are fairly shared? So, can we make sure that in this transition we create more jobs than we lose? And can we make sure that those are decent jobs, they're in the right place, and that workers and communities are supported to transition from one sector to the other? So all of this is wrapped up in the policy that we recommended in 2021 called the Just Transition Framework. We were very gratified that Cabinet adopted that policy without amendment, and we're now continuing to deepen our work on implementing that policy. So we work across all of the government ministries and line departments: Treasury, Energy and Electricity, Environment, DTIC, Trade and Industry and Competition.
If I can come in there, Crispian, are we seeing the private sector as well as agile as we see government coming through with some of these programs? I mean, today we've been invited by Standard Bank. Are we seeing more of these private sector avenues opening up to help you in the work that you're doing as a commission? They have set up their own ambitions in terms of their target going into billions.
So part of what this conference is about is galvanizing that private sector investment and support. If I was to be a little bit critical, I think the private sector in this country is a little bit too risk averse. I think this transition is happening very fast. We're at a tipping point, and there's a huge acceleration now in, energy grids, renewable energy, new energy systems. So, what we're discussing here at this conference is how do we bring the full capital stack into play to enable this transition. And we're mobilizing the sector to come in behind this.
Yeah, and are we already starting to see some of those changes and some of those green shoots coming from some of these companies as well?
Very definitely. I mean, there's been a huge uptick in terms of renewable energy investment. We're seeing pilot projects now on new financing models for the grid. You've seen a pipeline of renewable energy and clean energy projects develop 66 gigawatts. And they're very fundamental reforms that government's implementing to unlock this energy transition.
Well, that's encouraging. Crispian, Olver, let's leave it here for now. He's coming from the Presidential Climate Commission as the Executive Director, and he was just giving us a sense of what they've been picking up in the work that they're doing. But you hear them saying that there's been really a lot of acceleration that is coming through as the country works to ensuring that we meet our targets where the just energy transition is concerned. I'm Katlego Legodi for SABC News in Johannesburg.